All right, we're live. Hello, good evening. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you? It's good to see you. Good to talk to you. What's shaking?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, this case, you know, I thought we were
Oh
gonna
my
have a nice
God.
quiet month, but nope. We got news.
No, no, not at all. With this case on the plate, it's every time you turn around, something is popping off with it, and it just one ups itself every time.
Yep, I really expected that this week we were gonna see maybe a motion for severance from Pryor or some more fun tweets from Mark Means, but no. Instead, we had kind of a bombshell that was dropped last week by Annie Cushing, who is Tylee Ryan's aunt and Joseph Ryan's sister. Her live stream, maybe one of the mods could grab a link to it. Her YouTube channel is called Analytics. She did a live stream where she played this audio file of Lori Vallow talking to a group of people. Melanie Gibb was there. Now, we don't have the exact date of this when it was recorded, but it's believed that this was the weekend that Lori talks about when Chad and other people were at her home while Charles was on vacation. All right, so we
Yes.
think that that's when this was recorded. We don't know that for sure, but that seems to be the most likely. So, Bipolar Princess just linked to Analytics. You can go there, sub to her, please. She's got some amazing stuff. And so we've been pouring through this audio, and I sent it to Paul, and we've been listening to it. So we want to talk about that, and we were planning to maybe talk about it later and slowly, but we got news from Justin Lum. Just yesterday, Justin Lum tweeted out, and I will read it to you verbatim. It says Phoenix Police spokeswoman Sergeant Mercedes Fortune confirms that investigators will review the case of Joseph Ryan's death. He was Lori Vallow's third husband and Tylee Ryan's father. He died of a heart attack in 2018. Audio of Vallow allegedly saying she wanted to murder him led to this move. That's kind of a big deal.
Major. I'm so happy that Annie put that out there because this is one of those things that when you see it take place, like, okay, so she found this information. She wants to put it out there. She wants to see, if this gets in some traction. And then it worked. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I just love to see that kind of thing take place because it does need to be looked into. There are too many coincidences surrounding all the people in this case, and especially Lori with all these situations that happen with everybody she's ever entangled with.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things, first, Bipolar Princess, thank you for becoming a channel member. I'm so happy. Thank you. So good to see you here. Also, quick hi to all the mods. I'm sorry, I forgot. I should have said that first as soon as I came on. Hi, Rosie, Bipolar. I'm sure Jess is lurking around somewhere in the background. I hope she is. So I'm glad to see you all here. All right. So, Lori Vallow, the first thing to remember before we start getting into all this audio is that they're reviewing Joseph Ryan's death. They have not reopened an investigation. It's a little bit of a different thing. Okay. So just bear that in mind. But at least they're going to look at it. They say, wait a minute, maybe there's something here. So that's the first step in the right direction, I think.
I concur.
All right. So you want to dig right into this audio file? Because, man, there is some stuff in here.
Yeah, let me get my notes pulled up here.
Okay.
You know, one thing, okay, so let's do this first of all. We can kind of go through, if you want, like a little timeline of it with the actual information that she's taking out. But like, let's kind of book into a little bit with just an overall behavioral aspect of what we're seeing from her, because that dynamic to this, I literally had to listen to it in increments because at this point, whenever I listen to her talking in these contexts and these all this other kind of audio evidence, it just it's like a sucker punch to my stomach. Um, but overall, the level of self righteousness, the condescending tone to her voice, it just shocks me to see. I guess one of my questions is, was she ever not like that? You know what I'm saying? Like when you hear April talk about how she used to be this normal, wonderful mother, I'm like, but was she self righteous in another way then? Because that just oozes off of her and it drives me crazy.
Yep, Paul, I don't mean to interrupt you, but your audio just got super quiet, and chat is having a hard time hearing you. I'm not sure what
Oh,
happened.
is that
Oh, there you go.
okay? How's that?
There we go. That's better.
Strange. Did you hear what I said?
Sort of.
Okay.
I
What
didn't
I was
want to interrupt you, but now you have to repeat yourself. I'm sorry.
no, it's all good. So what I was saying is the self-righteousness, some of her behavioral aspects that we see all through this. To me, her self-righteousness just oozes off of her in this, that, need to make herself a martyr, to make herself special, the holder of information that others need to learn from her. All of these really toxic traits, I think, showcase themselves in this audio.
Yep, they really do. She's very, I mean, she even talks to these people about how the angels have visited her. Moroni himself has visited her. She's been ministered to by these spiritual beings in order to give herself this credibility with this group of people. And for this group of people, that's all they need to believe she's totally credible, which I have issues with that, but that's just me,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
but
I mean, literally, you or I could have gotten up in front of that room, gotten a story 10 times more absurd, and I think that it would have been fine. You know what I
yep.
mean? Like, that was really concerning to me, where I was like, is anybody else noticed that this ain't right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, there were some problems. So the audio, obviously she's speaking to a group of people. We don't know everyone that was there, but we know that Melanie Gibb was there because she starts off by saying how much she loves Melanie Gibb and how the father wanted her to go to Melanie Gibb. And she's a personal witness to the resurrected Jesus Christ. So she starts off with, I'm personally have witnessed the resurrected Jesus Christ, and he's telling me to do all this stuff. So now I'm going to tell you. And they're all like, yeah, this is going to be good.
Yeah, I know.
That's how it starts.
Exactly. And that from right there, it's like, grab your popcorn. The blasphemousness of it just shocks me. I mean, because right then and there, I'm just like, whoa, that is a real tall drink of water she has just served up.
Mm-hmm. But I think in this circle of people, that's kind of normal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so they
Absolutely.
probably hear
Yeah.
that a lot. One thing she says very early on that struck me was she said, I blame no one but myself for everything that happened in my life. And I'm like, do what?
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely not. She never takes accountability.
mm-mm.
I
Not
don't
for
know
a
why.
single thing. I don't think we've ever heard her say
No.
genuinely, oh, that was my fault. I made a mistake. Everything she says, well, so and so did this and so did that. It's always somebody else or some circumstance she has found herself in. So the gaslighting, starts
Yeah.
from the second she opens her mouth. But I think it's also trying to keep her own self delusions going.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to believe that for some reason, and she wants everyone else to believe it too. Maybe she thinks that will give her more credibility. But so she opens the whole night with some really big, giant craziness and then sets the tone for what comes next.
Now, okay, I'm just kind of looking through my notes here. Now, okay, so I'm going to talk about this real quick too. So yeah, she talks about that blaming herself thing. Again, it works for her in that moment, so she goes with it. She might believe it herself at this point. I don't know. Now, she keeps this little dialogue of these experiences and stuff in this, otherworldly, life-changing, eternal life-changing, all of these key phrases, that she keeps throwing out there. And, to me, I'm just listening to it. And I'm like, okay, there's no humbleness. There's none of this stuff. And this conversation of this earth-shattering change that has taken place, it sounds like a late night gimmicky ass scene on TV type commercial. You know
Right.
what I mean? Where it's like, well, look for, and I know she didn't say, it costs money to get or whatever, but it just has that vibe to it of,
Mm-hmm.
look at what I've experienced. You can have this too. And da 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 da. And it just seems so disingenuous. It just surprises me that people go for it.
Well, I had an interesting reaction to that point. She's talking about this changing point in her life where she turned to the temple when she got away from someone that she was married to that was awful. And she's speaking about Joseph Ryan.
Yeah.
Now, when I got away from my ex, who was awful, I went to church with one of my girlfriends. I was not a churchy person, but she took me with her. And I kind of had the same kind of experience that Lori did. She said she sat in the temple and she was so overcome with this feeling of love and security, and she just bawled her eyes out. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I had the exact same experience. However, that didn't turn me into a cult fanatic crazy person. I
Yeah.
said that was a great healing experience and moved on. She didn't
Yeah.
quite move on, and she started going to temple once a week, twice a week, then every day, and just sitting in temple all day long. So she certainly turned that one moment of maybe healing and respite into the foundation of her cult-like beliefs.
Yeah. Hmm. I'm sure there's something very, and like you said, you had an experience, you went there, you absorbed it, you moved on. I
Right.
have no doubt that there is some genuine truth to what she's saying, and some
Mhm.
genuine, like, I felt A, B, or C. Um, but like you said, it's like she parlays it into a little career of sorts. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yep.
And uses it as a platform. I almost feel like she goes from situation to situation, from person to person. She melds into the environment, it seems like. So whatever was about the temple, about the church, whatever, when she went, triggered something where she was like, I like this. This feels good. This is my next gig. We're going to jump down this. And I don't think it's that there's that much self-awareness in that. I do think there's
Mhm.
some, but I think that these are all the things going on uh in her mindset that makes her just kind of go down that rabbit hole.
Definitely. And so she's talking about how much time she's spending in the temple. And before we get to the work that she started doing, she starts off with how she got her temple recommend, right? And she says, and I
Ugh.
quote, I was going to murder him. I was going to kill him, like the scriptures say, like Nephi killed Laban, just to stop the pain, just to stop him coming after me and after my children. And I thought I couldn't take it anymore. And I would go through all the scriptures and I would find all the things like, if he comes against you once, if he comes against you twice, if he comes against you 3 times, you can kill him. She
Yeesh.
literally says that, like verbatim. I
Yeah.
typed it all out myself, and I'm like, okay, let's unpack this a little bit. So what she's saying is that she's talking about Joseph Ryan. He was so horrible and awful, and she says she did things to her children, which we're not going to talk about that part. But and she was digging through the scripture to find things that would justify her killing him. And she says that she did find something. Right now, most of our response to that was no way. The scriptures do not say it's okay to kill someone. But guess what? It does. I've been digging through Mormon scripture all day to try and find this, and I have found it. It's from Doctrines and Covenants, one of the Mormon scriptures. This is not part of the Christian Bible, a Mormon scripture, and it's from Doctrines and Covenants 98, paragraph 31. And this is what it says. It says, nevertheless, thine enemy is in thine hands. And if thou rewardest him according to his works, thou art justified. If he has sought thy life, and thy life is endangered by him, thine enemy is in thine hands, and thou art justified.
Mm.
And I'm like, all
Wow.
right. Now, you have to kind of read the whole Doctrines and
Yeah.
Covenants 98 to get to where they get to that point. But basically, they're saying if someone's come for you 3 times, and suddenly I've delivered him into your hands, if he's been horrible and tried to kill you, you're justified in trying to kill him. Go for it. It's like, whoa, okay. So she dug around for that. Now I will put a link in chat. Some people are asking where that's from. This is from the Church of Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ's own website. You can read all of their scriptures there. That should bring you right to Doctrines and Covenants 98. Read it from the top, and you'll see how it gets there. So she really was digging through scripture to find some written justification for killing Joseph.
Oh yeah. That's wow. That's really a lot. And yeah, the whole aspect when she started talking about that dynamic, and especially since in this audio, she's already worked you up to it by telling this long, drawn out story about the dynamics between her and Joseph and the situation with the family, all that. Then she's getting to this part of, that was her only answer. Now I need to find a justification. And it's almost like it's so eerie because it's like she's showing you the process that took place for each of the victims.
Mhm.
Each one came forward, whatever was taking place, she was pivoting herself essentially in what do you call it, a victim state, the victim of the situation, even if it was all the way down to the children are keeping me from completing the mission. I'm a victim of that, whatever. Now let me go find reason to make it okay to do this. Here the scripture said this, so let's go for it. That part was really, really
Yep.
shocking.
And she cites an actual passage from scripture from the Book of Mormon that she uses as her justification. She said, like Nephi killed Laban. Now, most of us here are not Mormon. We don't understand Mormon doctrine, but I did go and research the story of Nephi. And it turns out Nephi was commanded by God to go and get these brass plates, which had the genealogy text of his father's history and all this stuff. And he had to go get it, but Laban was a bad guy and wouldn't give it to him. And eventually, through some trials and tribulations, Nephi goes into Jerusalem and finds Laban passed out drunk on the street, right? Which, whatever. Rolls him over, takes a sword out of the thing, and God speaks to him and says, kill him. Basically. And Nephi's like, no, I don't want to kill. I've never shed the blood of man. I can't do that. And God said, do it. So he kills him, takes his clothes, grabs his keys, and goes steals the text that he wanted. And I'm like, all right. So Lori reads this text and thinks, well, obviously, God says sometimes it's okay to kill somebody. So there's my justification for why I should kill my ex-husband. Does she really believe this, or is she just using it as a cover? Or part of me thinks from listening to her and her tone of voice, she genuinely believes that she would be justified in doing so.
I just can't get my mind around that part that she created that bridge and honestly thinks it's legit. And I'm just like, what? Like, how would you even? That's where my right mind says, no, she knows exactly what she's doing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. She knows exactly what she's, and I do think that there is a good amount of she knows what she's doing. That inner voice, you know what I'm saying? Definitely. Like that's buried beneath our conscious thought and subconscious thought, where that little tiny voice that it knows. And I just feel like it has to know that it's like, I just, I want to, this is what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, he's pissed me off and this is how I'm going to end it or whatever. And
right. And I would even go further with that to say, if you think that something you want to do is actually justified, you don't have to search scripture to find things to bolster your opinion of it. You know what I mean? So clearly she had some doubts as to whether it was actually justified or not. So she just wanted to, using confirmation bias, go through the scripture to find something that said, yeah, you're right. Go do it. And she did.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now she goes on to say in that this audio that she says, and I quote again, I did not have a murderous heart. I just wanted to stop the bleeding and stop the pain. Someone wise was speaking to me and said, you need to go to the temple. So I went to my bishop and said, I'm either going to turn my life to the temple or commit murder. So do you want to give me a temple recommend? And she laughs. That's so funny. Isn't that funny?
It's so manipulative. And like hearing her say that, I'm like, okay, you see her currency, you see how she maneuvers. And I mean, this is what she does. She just goes from thing to thing and manipulates each situation that she goes to. I mean, can you imagine going to anybody with that? But like, okay, you're going to your church with that. Look, I'm gonna, commit murder. I'm gonna kill my, husband unless you give me temple recommend. I mean, really, okay, we're supposed to feel sorry for you because she already run a game on him before that. With the whole, look at what terrible things have been done to me and all that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. People in chat are asking, well, what excuse in scripture she used to kill her children? Possibly just the same things, because remember that they labeled them as zombies. Similar to a case we were just talking about last night with Paul, the Jeff Lundgren case. They labeled people as spiritually unclean, and those people had to be removed from the earth before Christ could come back. Because remember, all their goal is to assure the return of Christ. So killing zombies and spiritually unclean people was their deal.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's how they kept their agenda going. And again, I at a certain point, when the kids were in her way, because another thing too, and very quickly, that the other cult that you were looking into, Eamon Jeff Lundgren, I can't pronounce his name. Uh, there's a money motivation behind it, and so look at Lori's situation, the jealousy over, you know, um, JJ, and not the jealousy, but hold on, just as I'm quiet again. I don't know why my thing keeps doing that, y'all. Uh, let me see if this changes it. Can you hear me okay, Ewan?
yep, that's better.
Uh, I don't know. It's just I forgot what I was saying now. It was about JJ. Oh, with the money situation, there is a thing, there with Lori too, that's buried beneath the surface, and then on top of it is the justifications, the reasonings, the ego. Da, 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 da. Oh, this is my mission. Yada yada yada. Well, no, there's all this other stuff going on, and then that's a side item.
Yep. And she goes on with her manipulation thing. Oh, both her audience at the time, and if the story is true, of her bishop, because she said, I was perfectly honest because at that point I had nothing to lose. You get to the bottom rung and I had nothing to lose. And then she was given her temple recommend. So her level of manipulation for that point, it was probably just to get into a group environment. I don't think she thought she would make money from her association with the church, but that was what a lot of these other murders seem to have been precipitated by. So money was
Yeah.
a big deal, but also the admiration or validation of other people, that was really important to her.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. Big time. I mean, she wanted to be a little Miss Mormon princess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that was very big to her. I think it was a huge attraction to Chad because he was just viewed as this thing. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
this wow. And she was really attracted to that, even though to people outside of that, I can't wrap my mind around that where I'm like, what? Like that why that's a thing. Okay. Uh but I think in her world it was, and she latched onto that. I mean, sitting here trying to claim that you have and have had direct access to biblical figures, that I mean, I don't even know how I would say about that, but the things that she's claiming are huge. And if you have people willing and able and ready to believe that, that's really intoxicating, especially to a disturbed human being. And I think it's safe to say she's a little disturbed.
Yep. And she kind of says that because she's talking about how they had moved here from Texas, meaning to Arizona, to get away from her ex, but he moved only 5 miles away just to torture her. And she
Mm-hmm.
says, and Satan had been torturing me since I was a little kid. So I've had that my whole life.
Yeah.
And that made me stop and be like, interesting. We don't know a whole lot about her childhood. We do know her parents. We do know Janice is a little unusual, I guess is the best I can say. But clearly she's had something in her upbringing that led her believe Satan's been torturing her whole life.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I hopefully will learn more about that as it goes to court. But not that it excuses any of her behavior, but I want to know what led her to that behavior. And clearly this religious bent has caused some issues for her. For sure.
Now, and Jess just said something. She said the whole talk was aimed. Hold on, it was aimed at and for Melanie. She just happened to have an audience. First of all, this is just side note here. Listening to Melanie giggling and laughing, and like it sounded to me like Melanie was the one recording it. Maybe
Yeah.
I could
Yep.
be wrong, but it just sounded like she was holding the phone or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That part was so creepy, knowing the context of everything now, because it was almost like you were seeing this like courtship between them. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
this weird dynamic that you're like, oh wait, we're seeing behind the scenes here before things got to where they were. And Ugh, so gross.
I
Just
agree.
gross.
There's a very unhealthy relationship there on both sides, and we don't understand the full extent of it yet. But Lady Rainstar, I agree with you. She's mentioned schizoaffective disorder, and I've been wondering that too, because her paranoia and her delusions are very, very strong, which is an incredibly strong symptom of schizoaffective disorder. Maybe that's something we're going to hear about, but she does seem to be able to get by and blend in. So who knows? But there's
Yeah.
something there that made her a little not average or something.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. She did mention the next thing in that caught my eye in the audio was she said, I had little kids and we were all in therapy all the time. Okay. Said I
Yeah.
had 5 kids that I was dealing with. I would assume Charles and Tylee and JJ and possibly Colby at that point too. So there's the 5 kids. And she just turned everything over to the Lord and said, you have to do everything for me. I can't do it. I just can't. And he did. And I'm thinking, all right, there's something else that we frequently see in these types of cases where they just throw up their hands and give everything to God to fix because they just can't do it. Melanie Gibb does the same thing all
Yeah.
over her book, right? So that's a very interesting commonality, I think, that we see in people like this.
Yeah. That dynamic's always very interesting to me. And, I always kind of am curious, like, well, where does free will come into that? I mean, I get where things can get overwhelming and it's like, oh God, just, whatever. But the level that, specifically with this, that she's trying to sell that off to, I'm just like, okay. Also, very convenient that we've now absolved ourselves from accountability to other things if we simply turn everything over to something or someone or,
Right.
an outside source.
All of a sudden, nothing is our responsibility.
Yeah.
And we can just sit in temple and cry all day, or we can sit in our closet for 6 months and do whatever it was she was doing in there. Whatever. It absolves us of having to act
Yeah.
appropriately and just saying, God will fix it. But that is
Yeah.
magical thinking. Like someone in chat said, Jason Smith, it is magical thinking because it doesn't work. It doesn't work,
Lord, I
and
wish
people
it
say,
did.
I'm not faithful. That's why it doesn't work for me. But yeah, okay. I'm not suggesting an insanity defense. I'm not. I hope they're not going to go that road. But I do see some things that could possibly be linked to something like schizoaffective disorder. It's something to bear in mind, So that'll come out in trial. We'll have to hear all that. But the next part of the audio that Paul, you and I have talked about is this work that she was doing.
Oh Lord, she was putting in work.
All the work with the angels and stuff. What do you think about all of that?
Y'all, let me say this. By the time she talked about that, she had already thrown out some stuff there that I was like, whatever. That story right there, though, I was like, if I was in that room, that's where I would have looked around and been like, where's the damn hidden cameras? Like, we're getting punked. We are on a TV show. This is not right. That's just another one of those things where I'm like, this is so clearly a lie. I mean, I'm sorry. I believe in, strange occurrences and stuff. But the whole dynamic that she does, she's doing so many things with that. First of all, again, she is saying, look at these crazy experiences that I have had, almost in a braggart type of way of, I know, not she said nobody else had them, but just this, let me one up everybody with this, and the whole thing of, oh, well, I'm 45 and, I don't like computers. Well, I'm sorry, that's my age. I mean, we grew up with computers, you know what I mean? So granted, I get if you don't like them, but this whole thing is she's trying to make herself sound like she never seen a computer. I'm like, that's just whatever. Then she gets upset, goes to take a bath, and then she comes down and all these spirits have typed their names in. And that's just what happened from there on out. And I'm like, that's not how that works. It's not true
Yep.
at all. And
Yep.
so it actually kind of angers me when I hear it because it's just so far fetched. And I think it's so dangerous to spew lies like that.
Yep. Just to interject for a second, a few things in chat.
Yeah.
Hi, Cowgirl. It's so good to see you again. We haven't talked in so long. Glad to see you here. And Rosie, thank you for the super chat and those pretty flowers. That always makes me smile. Thank you so much. And the man that is talking is Paul from Reporting Live from My Sofa. There is a link to his channel in the description below. So please make sure you sub to Paul. So, all right. Anyway, back to our topic. Sorry for that. The computer thing. Now, remember, we do know that at certain times if she wanted to send Colby money, she would have Tylee do it through Tylee's phone. So maybe she was technologically not up to speed with things. Right? A lot of people are. I get that. But to say that, well, I just went upstairs and took a shower and the angels typed in all their names. I just had to print it out. Ha ha ha. What? Really? No. Just no. So I thought that was a little crazy. And I thought that people, if they believe that, when do you stop and say, this can't possibly be real? When does your brain get there and say, no, that's not true? That doesn't happen.
Now, did you read that comment that Ordinary just wrote about that? Did you read that?
The family search site, which you referenced, sends you recommendations of people you may be related to. That's possibly what happened. You know, my mother does a lot of genealogy. She was big in the Mormon church many, many decades ago, but she still does a lot of genealogy. And it does come up with automatic recommendations. So that's probably what she was going on. She's like, oh, look, a list of names appeared. The angels must have typed it. Poop, print it out. There you go.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's something like that is where my mind went to. And I'm like, I can get behind that. And I agree. I'm like, that's probably what happened, because my thought process was she got signed in somehow, typed in a name, got pissed off and went off. You know what I'm saying? Like took her bath, whatever. And then, whoa, bam, here's all these recommendations. You know, it's much grander to let's be honest. It's way more interesting to say, oh, I barely typed anything in, and then I came back and all these spirits started talking to me. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's always like this disconnect with reality. Reality is usually much more boring than the stories that you hear in these situations. You know, everybody at their root, I think, loves a good story, the campfire thing, all that type of stuff. And so I think it's almost human nature to want to, you know, make stuff up to a degree. Some people just take it much farther. And this was a scenario like that where I'm like, okay, that's cute and all, but no, let's make it real. Well, then she goes one step further. It's not like she just had one instance of this. I mean, she can't just leave it at that. She becomes essentially the go-to. Basically, she was describing the movie Ghost, the plot line, in a sense, or she was Whoopi Goldberg, you know, and like all these spirits are coming to her and they're communicating and doing all this crazy stuff. And you know what, real quick, and then you can reel me back in or whatever. Remember how she was talking about when she was in temple and she was like, I was in there and I heard someone say, don't forget me, don't forget me. And I said, who is that? When she did that, I was like, this is the kind of obnoxious person that I could see if you're in a group of people, she would start doing that just to make herself the center of attention. You know what I'm saying? Like, did anybody else see the 10 spirits that just walked through the room? It was just me. Okay, I figured so. You know what I mean? Like that kind of a thing.
Yep.
I bet other people didn't like her temple.
Yeah, you can see her as being and just absolutely getting in the way of everything and insinuating herself in everything going on at temple, and then being like, lady, chill. You know, you can totally see that. But as far as this work that she's talking about, genealogy has always been big in the Mormon church, not just because they like record keeping, but part of it, at least one part of it, is the fact that they want to baptize people that have already died. They love to do this without their consent, obviously, because they're dead. But they think baptizing people who have died, even generations ago, is a good thing. And in this audio, she talks about Tylee doing some of these baptisms on the names that these angels have typed for her. So that was surprising to me. I didn't think Tylee was quite that involved. But if Tylee is at temple doing these, what do they call them? Not proctor. What's the word I'm thinking? Proxy baptisms. If Tylee's doing that, she would be the stand-in for the dead people, and someone would baptize her in their name. I was surprised to hear that Tylee was that involved with everything going on in the church.
Wait, so they said, I just want to recap real quick. First of all, Abby in chat says she grew up LDS, or they grew up LDS and did baptism for the dead at 13. So we might have some on the ground reporting there.
Okay,
When
good.
you were saying that Ty Lee, are you saying that she was acting as the spirit? So they were like dunking her head in the water? Is that what you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, it's like a proxy baptism where
Oh,
Tylee would have stood in as the dead person, and then they would baptize Tylee in that person's name so that that person can then get into the celestial realm or whatnot.
see, for whatever reason, don't ask me why. I envisioned it that like she was not pretending to be the dead person, but like doing the dunking. Don't ask me how I got there. That of course makes more sense now, but it's even creepier now that I'm like, that's really creepy to me.
It is kind of creepy.
That's
I find it
really creepy.
uncomfortable to think about
Very
that. I really do.
uncomfortable.
Hmm. So that was a shock. I didn't know that Tylee was that involved. She's also she said that she's done about 1,000 names. So she's come up with 1,000 names of people through her genealogy studies or whatever that they could use those names to do the proxy baptisms for. But she also says that they were doing proxy ceilings. She talks about the two girls that they were doing the ceilings for in the ceiling room of the temple. That was when she heard somebody say, "Don't forget about me, don't forget about me." So it's like, you know, they're from their belief system, they're taking people who have passed away and marrying them off and baptizing them without any of their consent. And I'm like, okay, all right, that's part of mainstream normal LDS religion. So, I'm not going to bash it, but to me, I feel really uncomfortable about that. And Miss Rockets, welcome to the team. I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, that very uncomfortable vibe. Very uncomfortable vibe. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Continue on.
Right, so next up in the audio, she starts talking about how God sent her on a mission to move to Kauai. She had
Oh
6
my God.
confirmations in the temple, including the last one where she said, God, this is a big deal. This is a really big deal. I'd have to leave my baby and her babies to go to Kauai. And I'm like, wait, who?
I know
What
that
did
part. I
that
was like,
mean?
hold on, I gotta do some adding up here. I
Now,
don't
all
know
I
what
could
up,
think
but I
of
gotta
was Melanie Pulowski she was talking about.
maybe so. Maybe
Because that was
so.
the only one who had babies. And we know that Lori was sort
True.
of like a proxy mom to Melanie Pulowski at that point. So that's all I can think of. It certainly wasn't Tylee, because Tylee went with her and Tylee did not have babies. So, Melanie Pulowski is my
Lord.
guess on that. But she talks about this receipt from Hawaii, and that was her big last sign from God that she was supposed to go to Hawaii. Mm-hmm.
Ugh. That part right there. I wanted to just go back in time to that room and be like, shame on any person that is still in this room at this point. I mean, oh my God. That part right there, it's just such BS. Again, I believe in chance. I believe in all that kind of stuff. But this is a person who has way too much of that happen. And
Yep.
it's just, it's all wrapped up in too cute of a story. It's just like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to move to Hawaii to do your work. You're going on a mission. And how miraculous this came through and it said Hawaii 3 times all over it. And I was just like, really? Do you want me
Yep.
to believe that? Okay. What else? What
Yep.
else you got there?
I just want to take a second and say hello to Kresha. It's so good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Our thoughts and prayers are still with you and your family every day. So I'm glad to see you here in chat tonight. Kresha is Kay and Larry's daughter. So the next thing that Lori said in the audio that struck me as very surprising was she was saying that the spirits were talking to her and thanking her for bringing people into the fold or whatever. I forget exactly what she said. But she talks about how the spirits said she was doing good work with her excommunicated brother, who is now awake and knows everything. Does she mean Alex? I didn't know Alex was excommunicated. Or does she mean Adam? I don't think she had a good relationship with Adam, really.
Yeah, that part confused me. I'm curious to see what people will say of that because that part I was like, huh?
Yeah, I'm really sure she's talking about Alex there. But
That's
yeah,
what I
I didn't
thought.
know he was excommunicated. So that's interesting. I mean, her only other brother, I think, is Adam. I think she only has the two. It's hard to keep that family tree clear in my head. But why was Alex excommunicated? So we're going to have to try and figure that one out. And it would make sense, Justine, because she was very close to Alex and they were almost ministering to Alex. Certainly Jason Mao and Chad and all of them had a very big interest in Alex and his spiritual whatever. So I thought that was interesting that she mentioned that in that audio.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Lots of little tidbits like that came out in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the audio file, you can listen to most of it on Annie Cushing's live stream. She also has a link to the full file, which is up on the website, and it's also posted in our Discord server if you want to hear all 46 minutes. From this point on, it's mostly just religious mumbo-jumbo-y stuff, so I didn't take too many notes on that. The main point I wanted to focus on was what she said about Joseph, and we need to think about, what does that mean legally? That she said that, because you hear something like that, and you're like, well, there you go. But just her saying, well, I wanted to kill him. I was going to kill him. Right. And she said that, 3 times totally in the audio. You can't charge someone because they say that. How many times have you and I said, oh God, I want to kill him. I'm going to kill him in the face, but it's just, it's just blathering. But the fact that he did end up dead, and the fact that she says, she justifies it several times. So this would definitely speak to motive if she was to be charged with his case. This could be used to bolster the charges, but it's not, they can't charge her on that alone, unfortunately. Well, maybe fortunately, because whatever, that's the way the law works. But it certainly seems from what Justin Lum said that this audio prompted them to turn back and have another look at Joseph Ryan's death. Now, this is a big deal, I think. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, completely. I mean, pardon me. Like I was saying towards the beginning, I'm so glad that Annie brought this out. I'm so glad that it did what it needed to do and made people take notice, because this is the kind of stuff that this case, I think, is going to, not hinge on, but it's going to be a huge dynamic of it, because there hasn't been something that's like, oh, bam, we have this that we know of yet, this absolute direct evidence or whatever. And so there's all of this like circumstantial stuff and all of this coincidental and, oh, isn't that convenient, type things. And I mean, let's face it, her track record with her, ex-husbands and stuff, it ain't good. She has all of the, she's got all of these really shady things that, I mean, honestly, when people get in her way or she's done with them, bad things happen to them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And certainly with the case with Joseph Ryan, that's a very odd case. We have very little information. We have one statement from law enforcement about what happened when they actually discovered his body, how they got into his apartment, things like that. We have the toxicology report that was released only a couple months ago. So we have a little bits and pieces, but we don't have a whole big body of evidence to look at that case. So hopefully we're going to get some more of that. But I do think that this audio clip, certainly because she talks about her justification, she talks about being a warrior, she talks about how scripture said she could do it. So she expresses her belief in her justification for killing him and the fact he ended up dead. That could be very powerful in court. If I was on a jury and I knew that she was charged with either conspiracy to commit murder or killing of Joseph Ryan, and I heard that, I'd probably be swayed by it. Probably. How about you?
Well, yeah, especially because, see, one thing too for us, now granted, some of the stuff that we've seen of her behavior and whatnot is like that one video of after they, Alex killed her other husband and the cops are out there talking to her, she's giggling. I mean, that's bizarre. But we're seeing all this like in after the fact. You know what I mean? We can piece all of it together. These people were seeing this in live action, one-on-one for the most part, in a vacuum. So they couldn't necessarily put two and two together, even if it did look weird. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that did. So that's what's frustrating with it, because I mean, to me, some of her behavior is like, how did she get away with this? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did this pass them by? And I just think some of it was, it just, she was able to pass things off. I mean, she's been doing this victim story routine probably her whole life. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like, I mean, you heard her talking about already. What was it she said has been happening? The demons have been after her since she was a kid.
Right.
So,
Satan has been torturing her since she was
yeah,
a kid. Yeah.
exactly. So she's got this game down pat, you know, and it's just caught up with her. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
all got too condensed. But you get these people like her who they know what to say and how to say it, and how to manipulate. They can get away with a lot of damage, as we have seen, until it
Yep.
all comes crumbling down.
Yep. Now, first, I want to mention the LoriVallowStory.com, which is Lori Hellis's newsletter about all the legal stuff in this case. She does have a newsletter out about this particular audio file. So please go have a look at that. Bipolar Princess has linked to it in chat, and there should be a link in the description below. But also, Kresha just had a very interesting comment. Now, generally, this is not something that we talk about a lot here because it can usually start fights, but she said, the rest of these cult Mormon followers, or whatever their rank, their existence bothers me down to my core. I literally fear for mine and my family's lives. They took out 3 from my side already. Now, on one hand, I'd be like, oh, we can't bash Mormonism and da da da. And that's not what I'm trying to do. But these offshoot cults,
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that Lori and Chad are talking about, and Jason Mao and this warrior stuff, and the blood right or whatever it is thing. This has come up so many times historically with other cults with almost this exact same pattern of beliefs that it is scary. It really is. Just last night, we learned of another one, the Kirtland cult with Jeff Lundgren, almost identical with the same thought patterns. And we need to warrior up. We got to fight. We got to kill all the zombies and blah, blah, blah. So when does this stop?
Yeah.
That's my question. When does this stop?
Yeah, and see, and I don't know a lot about many religions or whatever or whatnot. I do not consider Lori and them when they're like, "Oh, we're Mormons." So I don't consider them that. I mean, again,
Right.
I'm not
Mhm.
Mormon, so I don't know. But I've heard enough of the stuff that Lori and them are talking about, and that other cult you just mentioned, and a little bit that I know about Mormons and stuff like that. I'm like, no, these are people who have twisted that and turned it into something unrecognizable. So yeah, I don't want people to think we're coming out of Mormon religion, anything like that.
Right.
I'm like, to each their own. But when people start taking these beliefs and twisting it to make it okay to kill people and harm people and do this crazy stuff and destroy lives, I have an issue with that. But like I said, I mean, I hate, pardon me, I hate that they get lumped in with that. Because then they did that. They're the ones who see. Nobody's going to come out and say, "Oh no, I'm not. That's not my religion. We do this crazy stuff over here on the weekends and da 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 da." No one's going to
Mhm.
say that. They're just going to be, "Oh yeah, we're Mormons. That's what we do."
Yeah.
They're going to
What
hide
did
behind
what did I
that.
say to you last night during your live? I think I said basically it comes down to this. If you have to have secret prayer groups in somebody's living room instead of the actual proper church itself, there's probably a sign that you should walk away. You know?
I mean,
You know what I mean? Seriously. If it's not actually held in the church proper with proper church authority, just don't do it because there's something wrong. you know, there's something wrong.
I mean, for real.
Yep. Oh goodness.
Let's see what else is there on there. I'm just skipping through my notes. Uh, Turning everything over to Laura, the computers, and the Hawaii thing, the 144,000. Yeah, the whole
Hmm.
thing, and it's not just with the I don't want to say Mormon, but her religion, all this. The term of warrior, this war, the spiritual war, you see this across religions, like in usually some a little bit more
Right.
fanatical versions of it. Uh and then of course hearing Lori and them talk about it, it's just like, oh my god. Another thing that I found interesting while we're saying this. So when Lori starts talking about, all this stuff, and she's like, and then he sent me on a mission. He sent me on a mission. And then remember, they're like, we want to see a show of hands. Who in here knows what their mission is? imagine, and maybe that's how that works. I don't know. But Lori is an example of a dangerous human being who's been given this green light to be like, you're just going to have this epiphany of a mission that you're going to say God has sent you on. And they have all these imbalances like ego things, narcissistic. Let's not even get into if she has a diagnosed chemical imbalance. Let's just talk about all the other stuff. That's dangerous. Somebody who's already like, well, I can just sit here and say that I put it in someone else's hands, and then she can come up with any mission that she wants to. And
Yep,
of course, it's to save the damn world. I mean, it wasn't going to be anything shy of that.
definitely. Someone asked in chat, at what point do you realize your beliefs are leaning towards cult behavior? One of the things I love studying is cults. And probably for me, the biggest red flag that you might be involved in a cult is when you are vilified for asking questions about the belief system that they're presenting to you.
Mm,
Right. If you start saying, well, hey, I don't really understand how this fits. This doesn't seem right to me. And you are punished for doing that. That's a pretty big red flag right
yeah.
there.
Yep.
So can imagine somebody in that room during this talk who stood up and said, Lori, that's the most ridiculous bullshit I've ever heard. What are you even talking about? They would have been ushered out of there and ostracized from that group very quickly. Right.
Melanie Gibbs would have clutched her pearls and threw them out of the damn house.
Hmm.
I mean, it would not have gone over well. Yeah, and Jess said,
Yep.
or they isolate you from everyone else. So that
Hmm.
cult that we were talking about last night, the what was it called again? The Jeff Lundgren, I can never say the last name.
Yep.
That's what they started doing with that. The whole reason they ended up killing this family of five is because they want to pull all their resources in for everybody. And they start with the isolation with this. A lot of it's a slow burn where they get you in there, they get you dependent, they get you that, whatever it was you were looking for, and then they start in on this stuff when you're not going along with. Because most people are going to question something, and most people are going to be able to pick up on if it's cool to do that or not. I mean, you even heard like with Manson and stuff, but some of those girls would say something, and he'd knock them down to the ground. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yep.
just this. It's just how it goes. And
Yep.
yeah, 100%. Lori and them weren't going to put up with that. Not after that groundbreaking story. She said, "Get up and question that." Be like, "Actually, Lori, I have that same genealogy app, and it just sends the things to your name. It just sends the
Hmm.
list to your email. That wasn't spiritual." You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They would have been
Yep.
like, "What?
Yeah.
No."
And there are a lot of different cults that are offshoots of mainstream religions. I'm not singling out Mormonism. The only reason we're talking about that because that's what Lori and Chad claim to be, even though I don't even believe that they're actual Mormons. I think they might have been at one point, but they certainly went off the deep end into crazy town. And similar with the Jeff Lundgren case, he wasn't an actual mainstream Mormon either. He belonged to the Reorganized Latter-day Saints, the RLDS, which is another total offshoot of mainstream LDS. So,
Yeah,
I'm not trying to pin all this on Mormonism. It's just the case that we're dealing with has to deal with that faith. So that's all.
yeah.
Don't at me. Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And now listen, Awen, I'm gonna have to get ready to go. Because I've got to get ready to hit the sack and get up very early in the morning. So do you want to wrap up anything talking to me before I run, and then you can keep on?
Yeah, basically, I'm glad we got to talk about this. I know we've been talking about it privately over the last couple of days, but hearing that they're going to at least review Joseph Ryan's death made me so happy because there's
Yeah.
so many people we need to see justice for. Yes, Tylee and JJ, of course, but also Joseph and Charles and Tammy and possibly even Alex if they killed him. So to hear that they're looking at it just made me so happy.
Oh yeah, same here. I mean, that was amazing that that went through like that. And again, it's just good to see things fall into place the way that they need to, and that hopefully they will continue. Um,
Yep.
Especially with this, because I just feel like they got away with enough. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
I just feel like they need to be held accountable for if indeed this is something she did. You know what I'm saying? But at least have the chance to find out. And I think that that's a starting point. So
Definitely.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was glad we got to talk about it too.
Yeah. All right, and we'll be touching base because we do have the hearings coming up on the 24th. We're probably going to get some filings before then, so I will definitely keep you up to date on all of that stuff. And say hi to Roscoe. Roscoe, hi, baby. Look at his little face. Look at him.
Yeah,
I love
like,
that dog.
Well, this is fun being here. I appreciate you having me on. I love being able to talk about this.
Yeah, I'm glad you can come on. There's so much in my head about this that I need to have you to bounce the ideas off of because I will just get lost on a tangent for hours.
No, it's great. I love doing it. I love doing it. I appreciate you having me.
All right, well, I'm going to stay on for a little bit. A couple of comments came up in chat that I want to address before I go for the night. So I'm going to stick around for a little bit. And you have a good night.
I will. Night, night, everybody. Y'all take care. I'll see you later.
Bye, Paul.
Night.
All right, and there goes Paul. All right, thank you, Paul, for being here again. That was great. So a couple comments came up in chat. I just want to hit on real quick before we go for the night. First, let me scroll back up so I don't miss them. First, Kresha, yes, just leave your computer on and let them type while you're asleep. It should work, apparently. But it's just Robbie. All right, I'm going to address this because I don't ever want to have this conversation in my chat again. I am not here to bash Mormonism, and if you are, my friend, you are on the wrong channel. Right? Mainstream Mormonism is a recognized religion. Real Mormons, real Church of Latter-day Saints people don't go around murdering and having cults and stuff. These are offshoots. These are cults. These are twisted versions of the Mormon teachings. Okay. There is a difference, and I know how to differentiate that. And it's very important to me that my chat understands that as well. Okay. We are not here to bash Mormons, so don't bring that up again because that'll be the end of it. So yeah, I want that extremely clear. All right. Now, Trisha asked a really interesting question. What is the Church of the Firstborn? Now, this is something that I really like. I mean, I don't like it as in I want to become a member. I like talking and studying about it because it's fascinating. The Church of the Firstborn is, well, there are several different churches of the Firstborn all over the place throughout history, you know. Hold on. Kresha says, let me know if you ever want to talk about any of this. Absolutely. Kresha, are you still on Discord? Because I have you there and I will private message you there so we can chat and set that up. That would be wonderful. Yeah, Church of the Firstborn. You have the Millerites, which is probably one of the most popular versions of it. You have the Church of the Firstborn that moved down to Mexico, that they went on a murder spree in the 70s. Crazy stuff. Chad talks about the Church of the Firstborn in a conceptual way. He believes that he is supposed to be the prophet or the leader of the new Church of the Firstborn right before the next coming of Christ. So it's basically just Mormon extremism. Extremist groups that have taken bits and pieces that they like from the Mormon scripture and twisted it into their own thing. In almost every historical case of a group that calls themselves some version of the Church of the Firstborn, it is an extremist cult situation, and many of them have led to murders. Yes, they do believe in the blood atonement. That is, at least a lot of them do. The Mexico group did. They believed in the blood atonement. And other groups, they believe in blood atonement. So, yeah, it's a Mormon extremist sect. Right? It's not. I wouldn't even call it a sect. It's not Mormonism. They've stolen bits and pieces from Mormon history and doctrine and twisted it into something absolutely nuts. It's nuts. I'm sorry. If you're a member of the Church of the Firstborn, I'm sorry. It's nuts. I can't be nice about it. So, yeah, the world has not ended yet. No, and I don't expect it's going to anytime soon. So, it's going to be okay. I think we're more in danger of something like, a comet hitting us, or not a comet, but an asteroid hitting us, than we are, the tribulations descending upon us and wiping out most of the planet. I don't see it happening. So, anyway. Oh, let me read up on chat. It's really hard when I have Paul on with me because I can't respond to chat as we're going along. So I've missed a lot of stuff, but I'm glad you're all here. I know this was kind of short notice, but I really wanted to talk about this new focus on Joseph Ryan's death because I really want to see justice for him. I really do. Aren't all of Chad's kids also part of it? They were raised in the Mormon faith. Are they part of Chad's cultish beliefs? We don't know. We don't know what their kids believe. Some of his children seem kind of stable. Some of the others seem not so stable. Certainly one of his daughters is a little cuckoo, but Crusher says, I wish that people wouldn't get offended. I believe the shoe fits wear it. If not, move along. If cult members would get offended and come forth, then it would be great. I agree. You want to get offended, then let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. But yeah, I will call a cult a cult. And certainly the things that Chad and Lori believed are extremist beliefs. They are twisted beliefs. Were they a cult? I think they wanted to be. I think they would have been. And certainly we still have issues like Melanie Gibb, who is still to this day, I believe, doing talks in her home about her version of Mormon beliefs, which is still not accurate. It's still not doctrine. So, it's still going on. We still have the Preparing a People folks who have switched from Preparing a People after all this came out. They started new projects and they jumped onto Come Follow Me 2020, Book of Mormon evidence kind of stuff. They're still doing it. All of the people that we've talked about, Jason Mao, Melanie Gibb, Melanie Pulowski, Michael and Nancy James, all of these people tangentially related to this case are still doing the things that led to this case happening. To me, that's a problem. I find that extremely problematic. I wish the Mormon Church would come out and make a very powerful statement saying any of these groups are not promoting our beliefs. We do not support them, blah, blah, blah. But they won't do that. They don't. They don't want to draw any more attention to it. But I think they're shooting themselves in the foot with that one. Did Melanie Gibb give Annie this recording? I don't think so, Carrie Ann. I don't know exactly who gave it to Annie. It could have been, but somebody did. Annie Cushing is amazing. Yes, she is. So please follow her on Twitter. And on Facebook, you can find her in the True Crime Underground Facebook group. You do have to apply to join. It's a fantastic group. And Annie posts tons and tons of information there. So I'm a big fan of Annie Cushing. So you can follow her in all those places. And on YouTube, her YouTube page. So... got a message from Nancy. Oh, MB, did Nancy tell you to cease and desist? That's usually what her messages consist of. Yeah, Michael and Nancy James and I got into it a bit ago, and they have since left me alone, which is probably smart, because I will call them out all day long. I absolutely will. I will tell you what projects they're working on, who they're doing them with, why they're doing them, why they are not Mormon doctrine, So season and defended Jason Mount. Yeah, great. Okay. Oh, goodness. Girl, if you don't like Annie, just keep it to yourself. There's no reason to say something negative about a family member involved in this case. There really isn't, and I won't stand for that. So if you don't like her, that's fine. I don't care if you don't like her. Just don't say it in chat. Keep it to yourself. Melanie Gibb is digging herself a hole. Why would she keep practicing those beliefs when she's a star witness? Also, she still doesn't have an attorney. I don't believe she has an attorney. At least she said she didn't. I would hope that she would have one, but it's Melanie Gibb. I think she's in La La Land. She does not seem very much connected to reality. Certainly reading her book, Feel the Fire, and listening to the podcast shows that she's not very connected to reality. So she probably believes that God will take care of her. So... Girl, that's fine. You can say what you want, but guess what? Not here, because this is not a democracy. Bye-bye. Anyway, yes, I will never tolerate people speaking ill of family members in cases like this. I'm sorry. I just won't do it. It's not the place for it. Go do it somewhere else. She lied under oath at the preliminary. Yes, she did. She also lied to authorities when they said, where's JJ? At first, she did lie and say he was with her. So there you go. And my husband just came home from work. Hello, husband. You want to say hi?
Hi, Annie. Hi, all.
Oh, goodness. So, yeah, Annie is a powerhouse. She really is. So the audio, if you want to hear it, it's in its entirety. It's 46 minutes, so I can't just play it for you here. But there's a link up in Discord. You can find it in the True Crime Underground group. You can listen to most of it over on Annie's channel. And I'm sure some other channels have also put it up in its entirety. So feel free to go check it out and see what you think. Could Wood use this as proof showing a pattern of murder? The audio file is not proof of anything. it's just her talking, and it could be just seen as her blathering. And because how many times have any of us said, oh, he made me so mad I'm going to kill him? That's not proof of a murder at all. It could be introduced through some various mechanisms if somehow something like this comes up at trial. If there are formal charges brought against her for Joseph Ryan's death, this could possibly be used as corroborating evidence, speaking to her state of mind or something like that. But by itself, it's not enough for a charge. So annoying. Do you know if Lori even had a temple recommend? I do believe that she did, because she talks about being in the ceiling room and doing work with the baptisms. And she did say that she went to temple like almost every day. So it does seem that at some point she absolutely did have a temple recommend. You have to have a recommend to get into temple. Yeah, with when it comes to this religion, there are your churches, right? Your actual churches, which you'll find in your neighborhood, the Church of Latter-day Saints, or whatever variety it's called. But they also have temples, right, which are much larger buildings, very fancy, very expensive, gorgeous buildings. But to get into temple, where they do more elevated spiritual practices, such as the baptisms and sealings and things like that, you have to get a temple recommend from your local bishop. So you have to be a member in good standing and all this stuff, and then they give you that. And yes, you have to wear temple garments. Temple garments are, honestly, and please don't take offense, I'm not trying to make fun of you, but temple garments are just underwear. They're just white underwear that are approved for wearing in temple. So, yeah, temple and church are two different things in the Mormon religion. Why do they have so much info on genealogy? The why, I'm not entirely sure. I've heard it stated that part of it is because they want to keep track of everyone, so they know who's been baptized into the faith even after death, things like that. But my mother was part of the Mormon church when I was young, and her main reason for joining was access to the genealogy records. And still to this day, she does a lot of genealogy through the Mormon church. She is not a practicing member of the Mormon church. She does not believe in that religion or that faith. But if you want to do genealogy, that's kind of a connection you almost need to have. So that's what she's doing there. Proof she felt morally justified to commit the murder. Yep. Stephanie, it's possible that she used the exact same justification for Charles's death, to track Jesus and lineage. Yep, lineage is a big deal in the Mormon faith. So, I'm not Mormon myself, so I don't know all the ins and outs, but, it's a big deal. Anyway, so we know that they're looking at Charles's death. There was a new lead investigator named a couple months ago. Now they're going to review Joseph's death. Hopefully we'll get some information soon on Tammy's death, and we're going to see a whole lot more coming for Chad and Lori. So I'm kind of excited about that, not in a celebratory way, but I want to see justice done for everyone. And yes, the lawyer. Lori did have a lawyer back when she was going through some of these custody cases who just mysteriously died of a heart attack or something. Excuse me, I had to cough. Whoops. My husband just knocked down my little Christmas tree. Oh my goodness. Sorry for the crash noises in the background. So we're going to get that fixed up. Yes, I already have a Christmas tree up. Just a little one in my bedroom because I could not wait to have some Christmas stuff to look on. Oh. Stephanie says the 3 times quote call is from Smith when the Mormons were being persecuted in Missouri. Yes, if you could please send that to me, that would be wonderful. The closest thing that I found that matched it was Doctrines and Covenants 98, which is, let's not forget who wrote a lot of these scriptures. And if it comes from Joseph Smith, that makes sense. Her weird lawyer right now. What's up with him? Oh, you mean Mark Means? Hold on 1 second. I do have to cough again. Oh, I have a tickle in my throat that will not quit. So yeah, Mark Means is, he's a character. I don't have, what am I still, okay, I'm not muted. Mark Means is a character. I think he's very, very, very much under Lori's spell. I think he's doing whatever she wants him to do. She's saying crazy stuff. Like when he came out and attacked the Woodcocks for allegedly recording the preliminary hearing. that was the most ridiculous thing, because first that hearing was live streamed. We all have recordings of it. I recorded it. Why would they have had to record it? They didn't have to. And they explained that, and he didn't buy it. And he pretty much slandered them all over social media. So that's crazy. I have a big problem with Mark Means, and certainly his latest round of poking the bear at Melanie Gibb and David Warwick. That was fun. But I think I do think he has a crush on Lori. I do. And I think he's under her spell. And I think he's behaving in ways that are actually going to harm the case and harm his client. But, oh, well, that's what you get. It is what it is. What did you miss? Where did you go to see it? As far as what you missed, Stephanie Lewis, you'll just have to rewind this and watch it back from the beginning. Tonight is kind of a short live. We're just talking about the audio from Lori. There will be links that will come up in chat and in the description below where you can find more information on all this stuff. You can join me on Patreon, which I'm going to get back to. You can join me. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. We have a Discord, although I do need to get a new link. Let me give you an invite link to Discord. We're doing temporary links, so the other ones might not work. That link right there will take you to our Discord server where you can chat with us around the clock. We have voice chat. We have text chat. We have all kinds of topics going. Talk about anything you want in Discord. And you can reach me privately if necessary there. So, yeah, you can follow me all over the place. I'm everywhere. So that's all I got for you tonight. I am keeping an eye on all these cases. We're watching this one and a couple others. Margie, thank you so much for becoming a channel member. I really appreciate the support. That helps me to be able to do this and to keep my eye on the Twitter, the tweet deck all day, watching for new breaking information in the case. So the next thing we're going to hear, this next scheduled thing, is the 24th of November. We should be hearing the motion to dismiss and the motion for change of venue. I don't expect the date to change, but I think we might hear a motion for severance from John Pryor in the meantime. But I will keep you up to date on that. So please like and subscribe. You can ring the notification bell if you want to get alerted anytime I go live. Because if there's anything big that happens, any hearing a short notice, I'll go live and you don't want to miss it. So that would be good for that. It's just Robbie says, I can respect the rules about bashing Mormons being gay from Happy Valley and persecuted at the ages of 118. You have your own personal feelings there. Okay, great. As long as we're on the same page. I don't. A lot of Christians have done bad things, but I don't say all Christianity is bad. So I just apply that across the board because we do have a lot of Mormon members here who are wonderful people. And one thing my mother always says about her time in the Mormon church was that they were the nicest people she has ever met in her life. She didn't agree with the religion, but the people were wonderful. So that's an important thing I try to keep in my head. All right, but that's it. I guess I'm going to go for the night. I really need a drink because I'm all itchy throat still with allergies going on, but man. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. There's not too much going on, so I don't expect to be live, but if anything pops up, I will let you know. Stay tuned for the channel members and Patreons because we're doing some stuff. I don't want to drop it just yet, but there's hint that there's stuff coming up, so pay attention to that. And I will talk to you all soon. So thank you for being here, Kresha. I will get with you privately in Discord, and then we could talk about it. And please send my love to your parents and to you and to your whole family because you're never far from my thoughts. And thank you so much for being here. So good night, everyone. Please take care, and I will talk to you soon. Wait, don't leave. One more thing. Jess, I almost forgot. How could I forget this? If you have a minute, I have a channel I would love for you to subscribe to. Let me go get you a link for it. Right here. Where's the link? Copy link. All right, right here. I'll put it in chat. This is Jess Nelson's Discord channel. Not Discord channel. Jess Nelson's YouTube channel. Wonderful videos there. Oh, Catnet, thank you. Catnet has a more appropriate link. Please go subscribe to Jess. I love her to death. She is my sister in all things in this world, and it's a wonderful, uplifting, feel-good, introspective kind of channel. So give her some subs, and I'd appreciate it. Okay, now I'm out of here. Love you all. Talk to you soon. Stay safe out there.